Well, it seems like Sheryl Swoopes can't catch a break. The Hall of Famer and WNBA champion, anything that she says pertaining or surrounding around Caitlin Clark, it gets magnified as hate or she's not giving Caitlin Clark her credit. But before we get off into today's podcast, tell a friend to tell a friend. Well, guys, man, this stuff is getting out of hand, man, pertaining Sheryl Swoopes, man. I don't know why she keeps getting a constant backlash that she is getting for her basketball takes on Caitlin Clark. Now, you guys know what Sheryl Swoopes has said in the past and what she has continuously says about Caitlin Clark. Everybody looks at it as she's being derogatory and she's hating on Caitlin Clark because she's really not acknowledging her, or she's giving her other teammates the respect that, they rightfully deserve, and not giving all the props to Caitlin Clark. So a lot of these media pundits and all these, Caitlin Clark fans, they look at Sheryl Swoopes as she's being a real big hater. We've seen the rumblings, we've seen the news, we've seen the headlines, we've seen the articles, we've seen the YouTube content creators that make content surrounding around Sheryl Swoopes, calling her a hater, and all types of things that's coming Sheryl Swoopes' way. Now, Sheryl Swoopes is a Hall of Fame legend, a WNBA player legend that's had a stellar career, championship, so she know what it takes to win championships. She knows the DNA about women's basketball. She know what it takes in all facets to win and to win championships and to win in the playoffs. Now, it's well documented on everything that Sheryl Swoopes has said surrounding around Caitlin Clark. Controversial thing that she said coming back from the Olympic break when she went on her podcast, and she basically said that coming outside of the Olympic break, we have to give props to Lexi Hall, Aaliyah Boston, and Kelsey Mitchell. And she really didn't name Caitlin Clark. And a lot of people had a problem with that. And they said that she was throwing shade at Caitlin Clark, and she was dissing Caitlin Clark, and she was hating on Caitlin Clark because she didn't mention her when she mentioned the names of the Indiana Fever that are propelling this team off to a great run after the Olympic break. And they talking about how you going to mention all these names, you can't even say Caitlin Clark. You're just a hater. And then you see what happened when it came down to calling her games. They took her off the broadcast. You see what happened when her and Nancy Lieberman Klein got into it. 30, 40-year-old friendship ruined because of one player, because Sheryl Swoopes is not glazing on Caitlin Clark the way a lot of people are doing, and she's getting all kinds of backlash, but she's standing on business because she is still coming out saying things about the Indiana Fever, giving the other players on the Indiana Fever just dues and not really just focusing on Caitlin Clark. Everybody keep on saying, well, why come Sheryl Swoopes just won't admit that Caitlin Clark is having a dominant season and she is what the WNBA needed? Now, we all know Sheryl Swoopes has been a regular on Gil's Arena. And on Gil's Arena, they go back and forth with topics and stuff like that. And there's some people outside of basketball thinking that, Sheryl Swoopes is really getting paid just to criticize and dismiss Caitlin Clark as a dominant rookie. That's asinine, man. These are narratives that people come up with, man. Just because you're not vocal in supporting of an athlete, that you have to hate on them and dismiss what they bring to the table. There's been plenty of incidents that Sheryl Swoopes has given Caitlin Clark her just dues and her praises about her game, said she was excellent. And it all started off and said, when she first was on Gil's Arena, said when Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese was coming into the WNBA, she didn't think that they was gonna start off well. But then she said, they both came in and they both been great. She has said that. But don't nobody want to focus on that. They always want to focus on the things that she don't say about Caitlin Clark and consider that as hate. So now she goes on Gil's Arena, and they talking about the Indiana Fever and Caitlin Clark again going into the playoffs. And she says some things because she knows what it takes to win in the playoffs. And she says some things. Now she's still getting backlash for saying things about Caitlin Clark that she is a liability on defense. So let's take a listen to what Sheryl Swoopes said on Gil's Arena, and then a little bit of what Rashard McCants had to chime in with. And people are giving her backlash about this. Let's take a listen.
Offensively, they can score with the best of them, right? You got Caitlin handling the rock. I think the best part, and you said it, the best part of her game right now is her passing ability to just pick the defense apart, right? And get the ball where it needs to. Defensively, besides Aaliyah Boston, besides Lexi Hull, because I think Kelsey Mitchell's an okay defender. Lexi Hull, is a dog on the defensive end. Yeah. But besides those two, I worry about the defense. Because to your point, come playoffs, you got to be able to guard somebody, regardless of who your first round matchup is, second round matchup is. Offensively, I don't worry about them scoring because you got Kelsey Mitchell, who I think people totally forgot about what Kelsey did at Ohio State. And then even being in the league, Kelsey's always been a bucket. Aaliyah Boston is playing really well. Nalissa Smith, when she's getting the minutes, she's a rebounding machine. She plays hard. Then you bring in off the bench Timmy Fagbinley, who is playing very well. Damaris Dantas, who's playing very well. Shooting the shit out of right? And what I don't see is who is that other guard, right? Because the guard they bring in is Erica Wheeler. Yep. Who's the other guard that you can bring in that can defend somebody?
I think that they're the women's version of the Dallas Mavericks. And I see Caitlin being Luka.
I like that.
Kelsey Mitchell being Kyrie.
I like that. Yeah.
They got pieces that are very dangerous, but they haven't decided to play defense individually. Where collectively, if they did in the playoffs, it would be more team defense.
No doubt.
And they wouldn't have to focus on what we're talking about now as far as liabilities.
Now, you heard what Sheryl Swoopes had to say, and you heard what Rashard McCants had to follow up with. Now, she's getting backlash because in that little soliloquy, she stated that Caitlin don't play defense. And she's only getting backlash because of the things that she didn't say about Caitlin Clark. But if you focus on what she said about Kelsey Mitchell. She's an okay defender, but she's not getting backlash for that. People don't consider that as hating on Kelsey Mitchell, but everything else they consider she's hating on Caitlin Clark. And that's the problem I have. That's the issue I have with everything that Sheryl Swoopes says. This is her own personal opinion. She played the game at a high level. She's won at a high level. She's a Hall of Famer. And you got people going after her and attacking her for her criticism and her critiques of Caitlin Clark, but don't nobody say anything when she critiques the other players on the Indiana Fever. So why do y'all consider that hate on Caitlin Clark when she's just critiquing what she sees and what she needs to work on? Because this is playoff basketball about to start, and you're still getting backlash for nothing that you said that was wrong. She stood on business and she said what she had to say. I don't call that hating. So for all the people that are coming at Sheryl Swoopes, hating on Sheryl Swoopes, and threatening Sheryl Swoopes, man, this is asinine, man. She said nothing wrong in her whole soliloquy about Caitlin Clark. All she said, and then she said that Caitlin Clark is an excellent passer, the way she passes the ball. So people are going to take that as hate too, because they're going to say, well, why haven't you mentioned the scoring? I don't know what it is with you guys that really think Caitlin Clark is, flawless. And when somebody criticizes and critiques her game, this is the backlash that you get. And Sheryl Swoopes is living proof. This is what we're going through. Over one athlete, if you don't say nothing good about Caitlin Clark and you're not on the narrative that everybody else is on, just saying she's the next best thing to sliced bread, this is the retaliation that you get. And Sheryl Swoopes is going through it. Anything that she says or she don't say about Caitlin Clark, people are coming at her. So guys, let me know what you think down in the comments section. This is going to wrap up another episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. I'm hosting the man behind the mic, K-Sap. We're going to catch you on the next one. Deuces. And remember, before you leave out the door, do me a favor. Give this video a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button. Post your comments. Share the video out. And we're going to catch you on the next one.
Thanks for listening to the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share on all major platforms.
That's all, folks.